Hey folks, Steve here with day 2 coverage of Game On 2026. This video, I'm recording this segment midday rather than at 11 o'clock or midnight, so I can think a little more clearly when doing this video. So hopefully this will work out. I'm doing this after playing Napoleon Invades Spain, which was the game we played for Library of Napoleonic Battles, my friend Scott and I. I was teaching this system, and I did not feel it was as appropriate, nor did we really have the free opportunity for me to stop the game midway through and do a quick recording. That just wasn't going to work out. But I did take some snapshot pictures, which hopefully after this part of the video is over, I should be able to get some of that on screen before we're talking about Spanish-American War. So as of the time I'm recording this part of the video, I have not yet played Spanish-American War, so future Steve will explain how that went a little later in this video. But for now, I'm going to talk quickly about Napoleon Invades Spain. So I've certainly played, excuse me, Library of Napoleonic Battles previously, solitaire mostly. And this was a good opportunity to teach the system and also play an opposed game and see how it went. I played the French, my friend Scott played the Spanish, and the Battle of Espinosa is the scenario that we played. Excuse me. But unfortunately, I lost, but that's okay. It was really close. It basically came down to one critical final set of battle die rolls that I couldn't quite come away with forcing the Spanish out of the victory hex location, and I didn't win. But it was still a fun time, and I think it was a nice change-up. So, after playing Grant Takes Command yesterday, and that being such a in-depth game, but it was so good, it was nice to play something that was a little bit lighter, but still plenty of tough tactical decisions. And, you can put me down as someone who likes the Library of Napoleonic Battles system, the games, as is, without trying to add a bunch of attritional custom home rules that kind of go overboard from the designer's intent. So my friend Scott enjoyed the gameplay, that there were still tough decisions. You're trying to arrange your forces. There's a nice asymmetry where the French forces are fewer in number on the map, but are generally better, but have the onus to attack and try to take territory from the Spanish. The Spanish have more forces, but they're a little bit weaker in terms of initiative ratings, and the fact that the commander Blake can only activate so many units per turn. So Blake is really just activating units to adjust the defense, and the French are trying to find an opportunity to break the Spanish line, get in behind, get the Zocs going to eliminate units. And I lost it in large part to just I'm going to say failure to break the line properly. So while in a couple of critical moments across the 8 turns that we played, the Espinosa Day of Battle is only 8 turns or something like that. It's not a lot of time, and it goes by fast. I dilly-dallied too much early on. I did not, I tried to maneuver more than trying to find the spot to attack first. That helped, but I wasn't doing a good job managing my command range. And I had some missed opportunities where at times I had broken the line, but I couldn't quite turn that into the significant victory or the significant depth of penetration of the line to ensure that the Spanish forces were going to start to be removed from the map. I couldn't quite do that. By the time I was doing it, it was really too late, and the last couple, one die roll, if I had rolled a 3 instead of a 4 on the combat die roll, that would have been enough to take the hex and win the game, but it didn't happen that way. So it ended up being a coalition tactical victory. But it was well fought. It was a good time. Managed to teach my friend a system that I like. I think it was a lot of fun. And really, the beauty of the system that is Library and Napoleonic Battles is that ultimately, you're playing a fun game that looks great at the table. I don't know what's going on in my throat, guys. I've got too much dairy or something, and I'm coughing. I apologize. That the rules aren't super complex. You can get to playing. It's still an interesting tactical puzzle to play through. You're not worried about facing. You know, Zocs do matter, but you're thinking about that in terms of, you know, how to maneuver the right forces to the right spot and work your way through. The one thing we did do, I had brought the counter sleds to do hidden movement, but we decided to not use hidden movement as a way to just teach the game, and more like, hey, you probably don't want to put that guy there because he's going to get flanked and that kind of thing. But we did play with the cards, the Fog of War cards, which I've not played with previously. And the Fog of War cards, I think, do definitely add something to the game. I think when I played Solitaire, and we were playing the Battle of Fleurus, 1793 or whatever it was, on the channel Solitaire, I didn't use the cards. And, you know, it's Solitaire, so maybe there's less need for cards for that depth of extra gameplay. But, you know, sure enough, the cards really mattered. And, you know, some of the cards you get, even accounting for the cards that you remove for Napoleon invades Spain, and, like, not all cards are included in the draw deck based on the game you're playing in the scenario. Some cards are really circumstantial, and you're like, well, I'm not going to use them. I'm just going to, you know, play a card for movement and just go. But Scott had a card that just came at the right time that allowed him to like ignore an enemy Zoc on the retreat. So there was a moment where, like, I was going to wrap the game up. I had it. It was there. I was going to attack. One of his divisions was going to retreat into a Zoc and get blown off the map, but he had played the right card basically at the time. I think we played it right. You know, maybe the timing might have been not correct, but he played the card Secure Flanks, which allowed him to ignore the Zoc of a unit that had advanced after combat right before this other combat, right? So, like, you structure the combats up. Had attacked, advanced after combat. I've got a Zoc in somebody's rear. Comes the next combat. Ideally, they're going to get eliminated off the map and go to the unit awaiting recovery box in that system. But he kept that, you know, he played Secure Flanks, so that meant that when I did force his division to retreat, you know, it was still not great because it caused some displacement of units, but it was not the catastrophic game changer that I was hoping it would be. So that worked out really interesting. Like, okay, now I see where the cards can really make a big change. He did get to play a card that was a guerrilla raid on my supply, which was a special, you know, that's the Fog of War special card text for Napoleon invades Spain with the universal deck system. And if you're unfamiliar with any of this stuff, you can look it up. It's straightforward stuff. But that was kind of a neat thing to actually see in action and see how it comes together, and where, you know, you can think you've got this situation like right where you want it, but the cards can throw you a curveball, and now, you know, it's not as good as I thought it was going to be. So yeah, maybe if we had not been playing with the cards, I could have pulled that off. We were playing with the cards. I didn't really get cards that I felt were particularly useful, so I don't think I played any. But, you know, he spent 2 victory points worth of cards, but because of it, he remained in control of 10 victory points worth of landmarks on the map, which that's a great trade. You know, you give up a victory point, but you get to keep 10. That's a good trade. So that was good, guys. So next up on this part of the video, you're just going to see a quick slideshow of the progression, some of the pictures. There's a northern part of the map where the big fighting is, and then there's kind of this sideshow part of the map of Espinosa, where the French Fourth Corps is heading, I think it's south, to try to take a town. And there, I just kind of did things in the wrong order, and I couldn't quite get into that victory hex location either. You'll be able to see some of that in the pictures. So take a look at the pictures, guys, and enjoy that. And then after that, I should pick up talking about Spanish-American War for the rest of the day 2 coverage. And hopefully, I'm going to drink some more water and clear out whatever is bothering me in my throat. So I'm going to go figure that out, guys. So we'll see you here in just a second to talk about the rest of the day. Okay, guys, I'm going to talk quietly because this is pretty late at night, so I don't want to disturb my hotel neighbors. Finished up this evening what to say about Spanish-American War 1898. So here's the thing, guys. We were intending to play the campaign game, just get as far as we could get, and we played through like turn 5 or 6 before things were slowing down. I was feeling tired, and it was like, okay, well, we gave it a shot. We learned a lot. Here's what I'm going to say about the current, designer signature edition from Compass Games of Spanish-American War. Now, realizing that this is a redo of the Strategy and Tactics, I think it was, magazine game. There's a good game here. It's probably going to end up being it is likely to be the definitive game on the subject, maybe, if you want to look at it that way. However, we came across a great number of things that need to either be errated or clarified or properly explained that negatively affected our ability to make a lot of progress. Now, I did something really dumb, which is I mistook one stack of units in a squadron holding box for a different stack, and so the beat up, poor conditioned Spanish fleet in Cadiz teleported to Havana, and I sortied it, not realizing how much default damage that fleet starts the game in, and got it destroyed by a U.S. fleet, and that was going to really swing the game really hard, and was hard to reverse course, so we just kept playing just to see what would happen. So that was that's my bad. But we ran across things like this player aid chart says it's 2 victory points if Spain does this, but the rulebook says 1 victory point. That the rulebook describes an action without actually specifying the procedure that the players would take to accomplish it. And this is around things like loading cargo, loading coal onto squadrons or ships and locations, and that the sequence of play actually has a lot of confusing things in it, some of which are repeated for things that are supposed to happen once in a turn. Evidently can happen twice, but that's not really intended. That's not what the rules say. So this is an unfortunate circumstance where I think in development the game hit a couple of snags where one, translating the old magazine game to a new game, there's new things in it, new mechanics, which is good. I mean, they're there and you can see it and you can be like, oh, that's cool. We should have that mechanic. We should have that capability. You should be able to do these things in the game that really show itself. I think there's a really good game here. So I'm being harsh, but I can see the game it's supposed to be. And what it's really coming down to is well, if you interpret this rule language one way and I interpret it another, we could arrive at an impasse at the table, because it's well, what is that supposed to mean? And it can have pretty drastic impacts on victory point accrual, to where you really need that to be clear. So there's oddities there that need to be worked out. I think if they were worked out, I think the game really needs a... Here's what I think. I think Spanish-American War 1898 needs a pretty thorough errata pass right now. The game just came out. There's not a lot of discussion on Board Game Geek. My opponent, the guy who brought the game, Dan, he made notes. I contributed to the notes, but he wrote the notes. He's the good guy. He wrote up some notes. I think he's going to get those things posted to Board Game Geek. so that we can try to get some developer or designer answers to the questions so that things are clear. I would expect that I'll probably add in some additional things to that thread if he posts it to Board Game Geek that I can find with a thorough combing of the rules. I hadn't read the rules a whole lot before we played. I had a sense of it. The naval stuff is really straightforward. The land combat stuff seems straightforward, though I think there could maybe be some errata we'll discover in there. But the campaign stuff, I think the issue is the rules were not written as procedural guidance like rulebook should be, my opinion, but I'm going to state it as fact. And this rulebook really was not. There's something lost somehow in reframing the rules from a magazine version of the rules to to be honest, I've looked at the magazine rules PDF that's floating around the internet, and to be honest, I don't think the magazine rules were much clearer. I think in a couple of cases they were more clear. So that game needs an errata pass, okay? It also needs more thorough examples of play. If those two things existed, the gameplay would be so much clearer, the procedures would be clearer, and the issues between the rulebook says one thing and the charts say another thing, and in fact, there's an entry on the VP list of ways to get victory points that's really not described in the rules at all, which is too bad. I think I can infer what I think it means, but you would have no way to be sure what it means, and there's actually a couple different interpretations we thought of at the table between me, my opponent Dan, and my buddy Scott, who was spectating us playing it and trying to learn it and just learning about the game. If those things get worked out, and that's the thing, this is a frustrating thing that can happen. A publisher produces a game. If it doesn't get a lot of popularity, doesn't get a lot of discussion, the developers or the designer might not take a lot of time to provide the needed errata, and if they don't feed that plant, if you don't give the seedling water and sunshine, well, you're not going to get a plant, and the game's going to kind of fade into obscurity. So I really hope, because the game's still new, but we hit convention season here. We got some playing of it. We had a good time for what we could have a good time with it. We need to highlight those errata issues and clarifications needed. That the publisher needs to deliver on those. If that can happen, and maybe somebody posts a web article or something in Paper Wars or something to give us some really clear examples of play with visual representations, I think Spanish American War 1898 becomes a really awesome game. There's a lot there to like right now. We played it and I'm like, if we just didn't have these little issues, this would be really cool. Managing your coal supply is this interesting logistics challenge. Trying to, as the Spanish player, who I was, trying to get cargo to Cuba is an interesting, blockade running, tense affair. The fact that I could try to repair my Cadiz fleet if I hadn't made my teleporting mistake and send a strike fleet to the east coast of the U.S. and do stuff, forcing the U.S. player to keep some of his own ships, defending, American territory. There's a lot of little things. It's one-sided. The war was one-sided. The game is framing the Americans with all these advantages, but the Spanish player does have ways to accrue victory points where it is going to be a game contest, one that would be very interesting. So what a weird way to exit a first-time play of something, but truly, again, if the issues can be addressed, if clarifications can be made, errata can be provided, maybe some living rules would be nice. I don't know if there's going to be a living rules because of the effort put into the PDF, where it's got, just the way that the graphics are set up. Maybe making a living rules is going to be difficult and make a new PDF like that, but the game needs errata. Okay, it needs errata that is not published. The game comes with some written errata that's kind of hidden at the back of the rulebook. There's a little sheet of paper that includes some errata as well. So those are like two different sets of discovered errata before the game went out to ship. Um, the reality is there's still more errata that is not documented, and that needs to be addressed, ideally as soon as possible, so that the game can be coherent, complete for people who are like, man, I'd like to get a Spanish-American war game. I think this is the game. Like, I think this is the one. Like, if you're going to play a Spanish-American war game, like, this is the game to get, but only if they fix these errata issues, they make the clarifications needed. If they can do those things, then the game is going to be in a really cool spot, and I would love to do more coverage of that game, either solitaire or some other way. Some other way to highlight it, but I'm not going to do that until the game experience gets smoothed out, basically, like that. I'm not going to, I won't spend much more time on it other than maybe trying to discover more errata issues on my own before I do video coverage of the game. But if those things get fixed, I think it'd be really cool to do that. So we'll see what comes out of the woodwork on that, guys. And so that's it for like the main involvement for me at Game On this year. Those are the big game experiences: GCA, CW, Nemesis, Napoleon invades Spain, Spanish-American War. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing some other stuff during Friday and a lot of Saturday. So I'll probably get some other videos, like a day 3, day 4 video set somehow, or at least a quick roundup on what was going on those days, and then we'll have a 5th day, which is going to be kind of more a chill day. So this is going to be like the majority of my coverage of the convention of what I did. Now, if you check out Justin Fascino's channel, Justigard is his channel. He's now a designer, but also good content creator in the war game space. You can check his videos out. He's doing a lot more walk around videos. I feel I'm not too good at that in filling the video space with good commentary, but Justin's quite good at that. So check out his channel as well. He does good content and coverage for this convention as well. I think I'm going to appear in one of those videos one way or the other, so we'll see you in that one at the very least. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for me. I'm going to stick, I guess I should put the pictures that I did take of Spanish-American War before this footage to give it some better context, but yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll roll from there. So, all right, thanks for watching, guys. Keep gaming, go to a convention, have fun, have good times. We'll catch you later.